It's 1:07 a.m. The city outside your apartment is silent. The only light in the room comes from 3 monitors stacked across a folding desk you bought for $79. Your neighbors think you're watching football. Your family thinks you're wasting time on statistics. Your friends think you're obsessed. They aren't entirely wrong. But they don't know you've spent the last 4 years building something no one else can see. A database. Every professional match. Every referee assignment. Every injury report. Every substitution pattern. Every yellow card. Every betting fluctuation. Over 118,000 individual data points. You started because you loved the game. Then you discovered something uncomfortable. Football isn't random. At least not entirely. Certain referees issue cards 22% above average. Some teams consistently receive favorable calls in specific stadiums. Certain betting movements occur before official injury announcements. Tiny patterns. Tiny advantages. Nothing illegal. Nothing dramatic. Just information. At first, the numbers earn you pocket money. $40. Then $200. Then $1,100 in a month. For the first time, your spreadsheet feels valuable. The system notices nothing. You're invisible. And invisible people are dangerous. The email arrives on a Tuesday. 11:42 p.m. No greeting. No signature. Just a single sentence. Your prediction accuracy is unusually high. Attached is a list of matches. Future matches. Matches that haven't happened yet. Whoever sent it knows exactly what you're doing. You ignore it. For 3 days. Then curiosity wins. You reply. The response comes back within 6 minutes. The sender claims to represent a betting syndicate operating across 6 countries. They aren't interested in your predictions. They're interested in your models. The offer is simple. $5,000. 1 consultation. You earned less than that during your previous 6 months combined. You tell yourself it's harmless. Just data. Just probabilities. Just numbers. The first meeting happens over encrypted video. No names. No cameras. Only voices. The questions become increasingly specific. Not who will win. Not who will score. They want to know which officials influence outcomes. Which stadium environments alter performance. Which variables remain invisible to bookmakers. When the call ends, your account balance increases by $5,000. Just like that. No contract. No paperwork. No receipts. For the first time, football stops feeling like a sport. It starts feeling like infrastructure. The money changes everything. 3 months later, you're making $12,000 per month. Then $18,000. Then $31,000. Not from betting. From consulting. You quit your job. Nobody understands why. Your parents ask if you've joined a startup. You let them believe it. It's easier. The syndicate expands your access. Private databases. Internal scouting reports. Medical information. Travel schedules. Information that shouldn't be available. Information worth millions. You begin seeing the game differently. Not as 22 players chasing a ball. As a machine. Thousands of moving parts. Players. Agents. Sponsors. Officials. Broadcasters. Governments. Betting markets. Everyone connected. Everyone influencing everyone else. You learn a rule. The higher the stakes become, the fewer people actually control outcomes. The syndicate teaches patience. They don't manipulate matches. Not yet. They identify vulnerabilities. Weak points. Pressure points. People. A referee with debt. An executive facing bankruptcy. A youth coach desperate for promotion. Every system has leverage. You spend 14 hours a day mapping it. The money keeps arriving. $480,000 by the end of the year. Your apartment gets bigger. Your world gets smaller. 2 years later, your phone rings. No caller ID. The voice says 3 words. We need precision. That's when you realize you've graduated. The people above the syndicate have entered the conversation. They don't care about betting. Betting is small. Betting is retail. They care about markets, sponsors, broadcast rights, political influence, entire economies. One match can shift hundreds of millions of dollars. One tournament can move billions. And the biggest tournament in the world is approaching. The World Cup. You aren't asked to rig anything. Not directly. You're asked to identify probabilities. Which officials can be influenced? Which pathways create plausible outcomes? Which narratives maximize commercial value? You spend 6 months inside encrypted meetings. Every conversation feels hypothetical. Every scenario feels theoretical. Nobody explicitly crosses the line. Yet everyone knows where the line is. And everyone keeps walking toward it. The closer you get to power, the less anyone says aloud. The World Cup begins. Billions watch. Billions trust. You watch something else. You watch logistics. Travel manifests. Security schedules. Communication delays. Referee assignments. Suddenly the patterns become obvious. Not because the tournament is fake. Because large systems are predictable. You identify 3 critical matches. Then 2. Then 1. The final. The biggest sporting event on Earth. An audience larger than entire continents. You build a model. 147 variables. 31 potential intervention points. 4 key decision makers. 1 optimal outcome. The model predicts commercial revenue increases of nearly $730 million if a specific storyline unfolds. Not a fixed score. Not a scripted match. A storyline. Enough uncertainty to appear authentic. Enough influence to guide probability. The people above you love it. You receive a bonus. $250,000. For a PowerPoint presentation. You tell yourself you're still an analyst. Still a statistician. Still outside the machine. But analysts don't get $250,000 bonuses. Operators do. It's match day. The World Cup final. You sit in a hotel room 3,400 miles from the stadium. 3 monitors. 4 encrypted phones. 1 television. The game begins. Nothing feels unusual. The crowd roars. Commentators celebrate. History unfolds. Then the first decision arrives. A controversial foul. Exactly where the model predicted. The referee hesitates. Then acts. Probability shifts. 5%. Later another moment. A yellow card. Another shift. 3%. The audience sees football. You see variables executing. Your heart rate climbs from 71 to 123. Not because you're excited. Because you're terrified. You suddenly realize something. The model is working. The second half arrives. Another decision. Another tiny adjustment. Nothing obvious. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that would survive a conspiracy documentary. Just enough. Tiny nudges. Tiny corrections. Tiny influences. The match reaches its conclusion. The storyline unfolds almost perfectly. The trophy is lifted. The world celebrates. Broadcasters call it destiny. You know better. For the first time in your career, you aren't observing the machine. You're inside it. The first article appears 6 days later. A small journalist. A niche publication. 20,000 readers. Nobody important notices. Except you. The article doesn't accuse anyone. It asks questions. Why were certain officials selected? Why did specific betting markets move unusually? Why were key communications delayed? The questions seem harmless. Until more journalists start asking them. Then analysts. Then former players. Then regulators. The narrative spreads. Not because people have evidence. Because they have curiosity. Curiosity is harder to stop than evidence. 3 weeks later, a regulatory inquiry begins. 1 month later, international agencies become involved. The people above you remain calm. They've survived investigations before. Systems this large rarely collapse. You try believing them. Then your encrypted contact disappears. Then another. Then another. Phone numbers stop working. Accounts vanish. Meetings are cancelled. The machine is shedding weight. And suddenly you understand something terrifying. Large organizations don't protect individuals. They protect themselves. It's 5:31 a.m. Someone knocks on your hotel door. Not aggressively. Professionally. You freeze. Nobody should know where you are. The knocking stops. A card slides beneath the door. You wait 10 minutes before picking it up. One word. Interpol. Your stomach drops. Not because you've been arrested. Because you haven't. If they were ready to arrest you, they wouldn't send a card. They're still collecting pieces. Still assembling the puzzle. You spend the next 72 hours moving. 3 cities. 4 flights. 2 continents. Almost no sleep. Every stranger feels suspicious. Every notification feels threatening. Every delayed elevator becomes a risk assessment exercise. You discover a strange truth. The fear isn't prison. It's uncertainty. You know exactly how systems hunt people. You help build systems yourself. Patterns. Behavior. Networks. Metadata. Digital footprints. No matter where you go, you're leaving evidence. And the people chasing you are professionals. The circle is shrinking. This is the level nobody talks about. Not the money. Not the power. Not the access. The cost. You made millions. More money than your younger self could imagine. Yet you can't enjoy any of it. You own properties you've barely visited. Vehicles you never drive. Accounts you rarely touch. You check hotel exits before sleeping. You memorize surveillance camera locations. You distrust every unexpected phone call. Your family thinks you've become distant. Friends stop contacting you. Relationships collapse. One by one. The world sees success. You experience isolation. 3 years ago you wanted influence. Now influence feels like a prison sentence. The investigation expands. Former associates begin cooperating. Documents emerge. Financial trails appear. Witnesses surface. The machine isn't protecting itself anymore. It's consuming itself. And every person inside it becomes fuel. You spend entire nights replaying the final. The decisions. The meetings. The rationalizations. You realize something. Nobody ever ordered you to rig the World Cup. Not directly. The system never required explicit commands. It simply rewarded every step toward corruption. One incentive at a time. One payment at a time. One compromise at a time. By the time you recognized the destination, you'd already arrived. It's 8:12 p.m. A gray room. One table. One recorder. One investigator. The chase is over. Not because they found every answer. Because you're tired. Tired of moving. Tired of calculating. Tired of carrying secrets. The investigator asks simple questions. Questions you've spent years avoiding. How did it start? Who was involved? What happened? For 8 hours you answer. Not everything. But enough. Enough to explain the machine. Enough to expose the incentives. Enough to reveal how ordinary people become operators. The investigator isn't surprised. That surprises you. He says something you'll remember forever. Most people think corruption begins with greed. He pauses. Usually it begins with competence. Because competent people get opportunities. Opportunities create access. Access creates temptation. Temptation creates justification. And justification creates outcomes. You stare at the recorder. Thinking about the first spreadsheet. The first prediction. The first $40. The first email. All those years ago. The entire story traces back to a kid sitting alone in a dark room staring at football statistics. You thought you were studying a game. You were actually studying power. Years later, people still debate that World Cup final. Some insist it was legitimate. Some insist it was manipulated. Most will never know. Maybe that's the point. The largest systems in the world rarely fail because of one villain. They fail because thousands of small incentives align in the wrong direction. One decision. Then another. Then another. Until nobody remembers where the line originally existed. The strange part is that the trophy isn't what stays with you. Neither is the money. Neither is the investigation. What stays with you is the realization that systems are built by ordinary people. And ordinary people are far easier to influence than anyone wants to admit. Somewhere tonight, another analyst is staring at another spreadsheet. Another person is discovering another pattern. Another opportunity is beginning. And just like you once did, they believe they're standing outside the machine. They aren't. The machine is already looking back.